party tonight!
What?
TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated, yes.
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson at Blurnsball.
Futurama!
Good evening. This is the Radulich and Broadcasting Network premiere podcast, TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is not a show, but a direct-to-video streaming service, Blu-ray, mini disc, whatever, movie, Gotham by Gaslight, a DC Universe original animated motion picture, which came out in 2018, roughly January, as a matter of fact, 23rd, 2018, and then it came out on Blu-ray February 6, 2018. It is based on the one-shot graphic novel that we just reviewed on Source Material Podcast, Gotham by Gaslight, by Brian Augustin and Mike Mignola. Joining me, as she did for the Source Material Podcast on said book, from Honeysuckle Rose Creations, it's Alexis Hejna. How do you do, madam?
Doing good. Glad to be back.
Outstanding. Now, refresh my memory here. What was your familiarity with the graphic novel? And then, other than my begging and pleading, cajoling, and sending white roses, why did you decide to come and talk about this with me tonight?
If you actually knew me, you'd know I prefer orange roses, not white.
You fucking typical woman. I do a nice thing and get yelled at anyway.
Seriously, though, orange roses are my favorite.
I'll keep that in mind should I decide I'm going to send you roses.
Yeah, you might want to tell your wife that first.
Yeah, she's in the room. She knows this conversation's happening.
Okay, good. See, my husband's in the other room. I'm sure he can hear every word I'm saying. Okay. I had heard of Gotham by Gaslight in passing. I have always been very intrigued by the Elseworld stories, especially those of DC. The quote-unquote Elseworlds of Marvel go by a different moniker. But I like them because they're great books for those who are not 100% familiar with what's going on with comic book continuity. I've mentioned before on this show and Source Material that I didn't get into comics until a much later age. I wasn't really exposed to them when I was younger. So there was a lot of times I was trying to read something and I was going, whoa, wait, what happened? When did this person become the new Robin? When did that guy get a crowbar upside his head? So I like the Elseworlds because anyone, new fan or old, can pick them up and get into them and enjoy the story.
So one of the things that people tend to love the DC animated movies more so than the live action. They've definitely been much more successful in capturing some of our favorite stories from DC lore and making a film out of them. The animated films tend to be very high quality, very well enjoyed. Some pretty successful ones of late. Batman Hush, which I think people like. Teen Titans The Judas Contract was fucking fantastic.
I'm just now realizing we probably should have done a trailer react for that new Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of Harley Quinn trailer that dropped today.
We'll get to it. There was the Flashpoint Paradox. They did a 2-movie Dark Knight Returns. There's been Under the Red Hood, which was also amazing.
That's actually my personal favorite of the animated films. My obsession with Jensen Ackles having nothing to do with that.
Not all of them have been wonderful. I think probably the most notorious one that people are like, ugh, this was terrible, was The
Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke, yeah. So, but I think for the most part, the group that works on these movies makes some pretty entertaining stuff. I haven't had, I enjoyed the 2-part Death of Superman, Reign of the Supermen. I've enjoyed most of what has come out since they started making them more in line with like the New 52 iteration of the DC Comics. So every once in a while, like Ronnie Adams and I did a commentary on Superman Doomsday from back in the day. And we haven't had a chance to talk about a lot of these, though, for one reason or another. So I've been wanting to do Gotham by Gaslight for a while now, because as I said in the Source Material podcast, in the archives, you can check that out if you like. This is one of the first. This is one of the first actual graphic novels, not a trade paperback, not a collection of comics bounded up into one volume, an actual graphic novel that I bought when it was published contemporaneously. I think that's how you pronounce that. So when I saw they were doing the Gotham by Gaslight movie, I was really excited, and this thing has been on our schedule for like a year now, because the whole concept of Batman pursuing Jack the Ripper, I thought lended itself to the Halloween season more so than anything else. I figured, well, let's wait to do it till then, but that's why it took so long for us to finally get to this. So,
well, it does take a while. I hate to say it, nearly everything that we reviewed on various shows has been pushed back at least 1 month.
Yeah. Well, this is what happens when you try to get to everything, and they decide, well, we're going to increase everything to 2 times everything. Like, well,
and then we suddenly go, wait, we should be reviewing this because it's trending, and we want people to actually find our reviews and everything when they do Google searches.
We try. We don't always succeed. We try, but damn it, hey, we're going to review BH 90210 this week as well. So that's kind of contemporary. That just kind of ended. Anyway,
how much did you have to bribe Robert for that?
Robert's not the one doing it. It's Pat, Jesse, and we're being joined by Chris Bailey and Chris Sheehan. Like, yeah, all the dudes came out of the woodwork for like, oh, it's Beverly Hills 90210.
Okay, I rephrase. You've gagged Patrick, and you're holding him in your basement to force him to watch this, aren't you?
I mean, it was his idea. The binding and gagging, I mean. All right. So
yeah, I don't think Patrick has ever willingly sat through anything on this show.
You'd be surprised. This was actually that literally was his idea to do BH 90210. But let's get to it. So, Gotham by Gaslight, the graphic novel that inspired this, kind of serves as the bones for the story, but this really goes its own direction. Spoilers ahead, in case, and I'm not going to go through like a bit-by-bit plot synopsis, but there are some things you should know right up top when dealing with the book versus the movie. The first of all, Jack the Ripper is a completely different guy. In the book...
is this spoilers for both the graphic novel and the animated movie?
It sure is. I can't not talk about this and not spoil stuff, so spoilers everywhere.
I understand. Just wanted to make sure we weren't about to piss off somebody who misunderstood what we were talking about.
If the Radulich and Broadcasting Network isn't pissing people off, I don't know what we're doing. All right, so you have I think it was Bruce Wayne's uncle who's Jack the Ripper in Gotham by Gaslight.
The Chekhov's character, the character who was a Chekhov's gun, I think is what I called. I hate to say, if I repeat anything from the source material, I apologize. As our listeners who did actually listen to that show will know, I recorded that after a 9-hour drive from Cincinnati, so my brain was not exactly connected to the rest of the nerve synapses in the rest of my body.
In this iteration, it's James Gordon. And I think that even the motivations were different between Packer and Gordon. Gordon has been crazed since his time in the Civil War. He's sort of leading a dual life. One as...
Whereas the uncle was spurned by his love for Martha Wayne, to which the point that we all said, okay, who here was making Batman v Superman jokes about Martha?
Right. This iteration, the James Gordon version, is sort of on a pursuit to take out the immigrants and the prostitutes and the filth of the world, basically. He is set to purify Victorian Gotham.
What was interesting about this was that the graphic novel actually took its time to explain that the Jack the Ripper from London, the actual character, had crossed the sea and come to Gotham to continue his work. This movie makes absolutely no mention, I could be wrong, but I believe it makes no mention of a Jack the Ripper in London. So we have no real notice of, oh wait, was James Gordon in London killing them too? It doesn't say.
No, it's hinted at, and I had to read the wiki to get this, that he was driven mad, quite mad, by his time in the Civil War. So one of the major differences about this film, and we can start our conversation here really, is the book doesn't make use of the Batman Rogues Gallery at all. It's just there's a killer on the loose. Bruce Wayne's framed for it, goes to prison, solves the whodunit from his prison cell, and then goes to stop him. That's it, we're done.
Yeah, I mentioned this on the source material that I am not a fan of, throwing in references just for the sake of references. I don't like the whole Captain America gets the flying monkeys joke. But I was disappointed that we didn't see more characters, even just notes in the background. I felt that the world of Gotham by Gaslight, the graphic novel, could have been fleshed out a lot more by including more familiar characters. The animated film answers that in spades.
Yeah, this one doesn't let you forget the Bat Family or the Rogues Gallery. And just as an aside, because shortly before I sat down to watch this, I did watch Hush when it came out. I don't know if you've seen the animated Hush yet.
I actually haven't. It came out when I was getting ready to start my Crazed Fall Rush, so I put it on the back burner. I think I've got it downloaded, and I just haven't had a chance to watch it yet. And, of course, we're recording this on October 1st, so I spent today breaking out my horror movie collection, as is traditional.
So it just seems like with the recent Batman films, the cartoon films, and I don't know, I feel like every time I see animated Batman, now not so much live action Batman, they're not doing this as near as I can tell, but the animated Batman and the comic book Batman, whoever's in charge of creative from an editorial standpoint between the comics and this animated movies can't seem to get over Batman and Catwoman. Just love them. Just can't get enough of what they can do with that story. I mean, I don't know if you heard the source material where we talked about the infamous wedding issue where I went crazy and just short of threatened to kill Tom King for that. Because they built...
You and about 100 other people.
But I wasn't ready to kill him over Heroes in Crisis. I was ready to kill him over the wedding, where they built up this, they built it up, and they built it up, and they built it up. And as a 43-year-old comic book reading man, I was ready for Batman to marry Catwoman. And they took it away from me. And they took it away for the stupidest of reasons. Batman must always be single. He must always be tortured. Boo!
Yeah, Tom King has really not answered a lot of questions about how much of that was his decision and how much of that was DC as a publisher actually saying that.
So here we
go.
go.
Probably because when they finally admit whoever it was who finally brought down the axe, the fans are going to storm their house with torches and pitchforks.
And so here we go again. Just like with Batman Hush, we have the sort of central relationship of Gotham by Gaslight becomes Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. And
as opposed to Julie Madison from the graphic novel, who I believe I actually one-upped Jesse Starcher on that one because he had never heard of her, and I pointed out Julie Madison was his girlfriend in Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's a famous victim of Jack the Ripper's, isn't there, that we were all like, wouldn't that have made more sense?
Yeah, I believe so. Again, you're asking me to remember something after a 9-hour drive. The majority of that podcast is in a perpetual fog.
It was either you or Chris who mentioned the very famous victim of Jack the Ripper's. But either way, if you like Batman's Rogues Gallery and the Bat Family, just inserted everywhere they possibly can into a story, you'll love Gotham by Gaslight. This thing features Harvey Bullock, Jim Gordon, all three Robins, Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, and Tim Drake. I don't know
Okay,
if you caught
admit
that.
it. They were a little team of pickpockets, a la Oliver Twist. Admit it. It was freaking adorable.
It was, and I didn't even realize it was them until I read the wiki. But yeah, they're all there.
Yeah, I think actually the guy calls them his little flock of cock robins.
Something like that. We have Selena Kyle, as I mentioned. We have a brief shot of Ivy, who is one of the dancers who gets killed by Jack the Ripper. We have solicitor Harvey Dent. We even have like a nod to like a female Harvey Dent in Jim Gordon's wife. Again, I was reading that on the Wikipedia page, and that's what they were going for there, with half her face scarred.
Yeah, I didn't really get that when I first saw it, but then I read it on the wiki, and I guess I felt, well, if you take it that way, great. If you don't, I don't think it takes away from the story.
No. We have Dr. Leslie Tompkins, who is Sister Leslie, the nun. Hugo Strange is Hugo Strange. We have a nod to Arkham Asylum, Blackgate Penitentiary, and that's about it. There's Chris Armstrong of the Unspoken Decade and Unspoken Issues said something about a Harley Quinn. She's not identified as that in the cast list on the wiki, but the woman who voices her voices the old woman as well, whose name is Marlene.
Yeah, she's voiced by Tara Strong, who also voices little Timmy, who of course sounds like Timmy Turner from Fairly Odd Parents, which was adorable. Sorry, Tara Strong is one of my favorite voice actresses. And again, I didn't get that at first. I mean, even the name Marlene, I didn't think, oh, Marlene, Harleen. I didn't think that. But someone had mentioned about the Harley Quinn connection. And there, again, I was like, well, you get that, great. If you don't, again, doesn't detract from the story. And I like that. I like references where if you get it, it's great. But if you don't get it, it doesn't ruin it.
No. So let's start there. What did you think of the choice to... Because, again, none of these people are in the Gotham by Gaslight graphic novel. They chose to make this a fuller, more richer Batman world. But the beats are more or less the same. Jack the Ripper's killing people. Bruce Wayne is framed for it, goes to prison, breaks out, takes on Jack the Ripper as Batman, and wins. The beats are all the same. It's how they kind of get there and how they utilize each character that's different between the movie and the book. So what did you think of incorporating all of these various Bat characters?
I did enjoy that. As I mentioned before, I felt that the graphic novel was seriously lacking because it didn't have a lot of characters that we were familiar with. I'm not saying that made it less of a story, but I felt that it did not flesh out the world of Gotham as it could have. Mm-hmm. These are characters who work into the story's narrative without being overly forced. Poison Ivy is in this movie. She is an exotic dancer / prostitute. Her dance name is Ivy the Plant Lady. She dances in a Ivy bikini kind of a thing, and she wears green on her dress when she's killed. She is not actually the character Poison Ivy. She is Pamela Isley with a plant motif who serves as another character. If they had tried to work actually Poison Ivy as the character into it, it probably wouldn't have worked. Similar we get with Catwoman Selena Kyle, who is an actress, but they really made her character work. She shows up fighting Jack the Ripper with a whip, but we find out later her parents were circus performers. Her father was a lion tamer, and she talks about how she grew up with the cats. And it makes sense. You go, oh my God, that's brilliant on why she would have a whip, because that's what lion tamers use, a whip.
Right.
So it would make sense that she would be trained with it. And we never actually see her in the Catwoman costume. She is always wearing the traditional dress, aside from when she's doing the cabaret performance thing, whatever.
Can you tame wild women?
And check off the spot on the bingo card, folks.
I need an answer. Can you tame wild women? This is what the movie asks of us.
I'm straight, dude.
All right, moving on. Let me ask my wife.
Sorry, how do you expect me to answer that?
I have a question. Can you tame wild women?
champagne.
She says, "Give enough champagne."
Good answer.
I did enjoy that, though, that she's this suffragist, Victorian era, the women's rights, single woman dancing the cabaret, and the song that they have her singing is this wildly pro-women, number that she does. I got a kick out of that. That's probably my favorite part of the movie, just this, because Catwoman, is the burglar, and she's kind of half a ninja and an acrobat, and there's a lot of inference in terms of her beliefs and practices as a woman, but I've never necessarily seen her as like a feminist icon. Feminist
icon, no, but her going back to the fact that she was, pushing for support more, that the people who were being killed were from what do they call it, Skinner's End?
Mm-hmm.
I think that calls back to Batman Year One, that you saw her more as just saying she was tired of seeing the poor get trod on in her area.
So I enjoyed the fact that in this one they can't really utilize her that way. So instead, she becomes this very pro-feminist icon. From the songs she sings to the fact that she decides she's going to try to take out Jack the Ripper herself, to her one-on-one, in the beginning, and then when Gordon reveals himself, her one-on-one fight with him utilizing the whip. She's the one that saves Batman when he's been stabbed and he's running from the Gotham police. She's like, get in the carriage, and she's, and then she's very she's very sexual. She's, this is a woman who knows what she wants.
The way she got the police off their back by stripping herself and Batman down, that was hilarious. That was kind of ingenious.
They gave her a lot. Batman kind of tends to suck up all the air in the room just by given the fact that he's Batman, and that's traditionally for the last 20, 30, 40 years, Warner Brothers has made Batman the god of DC comics.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Somewhere in Warner Brothers, there's a room with a pedestal and 2 buttons. And every now and then, someone goes in and hammers one of those buttons. One button says more Batman. The other button says rehash Scooby-Doo.
That is genuinely funny. So I thought I thought the use of Catwoman here was good, but I just kind of want to get your quick reaction to: is this the only person he can love? Can't we do something else with Batman and another one of the many gals in his rogues gallery? The one time they teamed him up with Harley Quinn, and they had kind of a halfway sexual tension thing going on, I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
I'd like to remind you, the last time he hooked up with anyone else, we got Damian Wayne, and the rest of the fans have been rolling their eyes ever since.
I love Damian Wayne.
Oh, he's such a little piss ass.
I know, he's great. Oh God, what was I was Hush, where he was lecturing his father about hanging with loose women. It was like, you're 13. That's fantastic. But anyway, any thoughts on this obsession Warner Brothers has with hooking Batman up with Catwoman in all things they do?
Oh, not necessarily. I mean, what are your thoughts on hooking up with Catwoman versus what they did with the Justice League animated series? Where, what?
Oh, no worries.
No, you're fine. That's just my wife on the phone.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought someone was cutting into our conversation. No, it was like, so as opposed to Batman and Wonder Woman in the Justice League animated series.
Oh, I love that. Wonder Woman and Batman together is a fantastic couple. Because I always thought Wonder Woman and Superman was a little, like, their relationship in Injustice, I always thought was like, well, why is Wonder Woman going after Superman? It makes her seem less than.
Yeah, I always...
Hang on one second. Yes?
Troy Jansen to save the day. Guess who's bringing me Lily's binder tomorrow morning?
Terrific.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Are we interrupting making personal plans?
No. My daughter left her homework at the musical theater studio.
Ah, okay.
So, because one of the students at her school is also her musical theater teacher, he's bringing the book to her tomorrow.
Well, that's nice.
I hope everyone got that. It's a very important part of the story.
I honestly didn't know if you paused the show or not.
Nope. Edit. What's that?
Sorry, folks. We got distracted.
So yeah, Batman and Catwoman.
No, I am fine with the pairing of Batman and Catwoman. I mean, okay. There are a few female characters that I look at and go, yeah, I really don't get why you would push them. I actually do like Talia al Ghul paired with Batman, just because I like what she represents. She is Batman's equal in a way, and he does love her, but he knows that what going with her means because of her ties with her father.
We were talking about Wonder Woman and Batman. That's where we got distracted, and I think one of the reasons why I've always enjoyed the Wonder Woman Batman dalliance was I like the idea that she knows he's mortal. She knows that she could break the guy, with just a flexing of her arm. But,
or her thumb.
Yeah. But she's attracted to him nonetheless. There's just something about him, about the way he carries himself. He has the fraction of the strength of Superman, but a will that puts Superman's to shame, And so I like the idea of it's not always about the physicality of a guy. I think that's very true. I think that's very true to how women sometimes see a date or a mate or whatever. Is you never know what's going to be the thing that triggers them, in a positive way. And it's not always the same thing. It's not always physical presence, Mm-hmm. And I like the idea that Wonder Woman just doesn't want to be with a meathead. That she wants to be with a guy who is intellectually challenging.
Definitely. I do love that one episode of the Justice League. I think it's one of the Vandal Savage episodes. And it actually starts with Wonder Woman dancing with Bruce Wayne at a formal event. Mm-hmm. Even though they're just animated characters, you can tell there's some definite chemistry there. And it's kind of fun.
Is that the one where she's sort of flirting with him and he's like, "You're an Amazon goddess. I'm a troubled, spoiled rich kid," or something like that?
That was another episode, but yeah, it's like you're a princess from Themyscira. I'm a rich kid with issues. A lot of issues. I love that line.
There's nothing better though than whoever it was that got Batman to sing "Am I Blue" at a jazz club.
Oh my god!
And I bring that up because that's another Wonder Woman Batman setup where she got turned into a pig. So
Yeah,
I want to say Zatanna's in that episode as well.
That was Justice League Unlimited. That was the introduction to Zatanna in that universe. And yes, that was Kevin Conroy's finest moment.
Yeah, end the show right there. It's not getting any better than that. So back to Gotham by Gaslight. Let's move on. So, what did you think of the reveal?
About Jim Gordon?
Hang on, before I get there, there's a beat missing in this. I had to watch it a couple of times. First time is because I kept like passing out through it, and it's not because of anything having to do with the movie. I was just happened to be really tired that day.
Was your Jigglypuff calling?
No, I only got 3 hours sleep, and I didn't use my CPAP machine, so I didn't get any sleep at all.
Ew.
Yeah. So by Monday morning, or whatever time I watched this, I just kept passing out. It doesn't matter. Anyway, there's a beat here where Wayne and Dent and Kyle go carousing about town after she tries to tame wild women. And he sneaks her into the Dionysus Club, and Dent's got a thing for her, but she kind of is like, "You're a bit of a pig," and she only seems to have eyes for Bruce, and they have a drink and whatever. Nothing really comes of that scene. It's kind of set up for something. It's set up for the carriage bit later. But in that same later on, when Marlene turns up dead, they go and it jumps right to getting the arrest warrant for Bruce Wayne. And the wiki says that this was driven by Dent's jealousy over Wayne and Kyle. That's not anywhere in the fucking movie.
There is the one scene where Selina approaches Harvey after the arrest and basically says, why are you going after him? And Harvey says something to the effect of, oh, you just, hopped into bed with the next bad boy or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she jumps back into the carriage. I think that was the only time it was really hashed that. They did plant a little false seed that it may have been Harvey Dent doing the killings, because they do talk before they go to the Dionysus Club. She mentioned something about Harvey Dent's drinking. He's kind of a Jekyll and Hyde sort of thing. And obviously that's
waka
a nod
waka.
Yeah, and that's obviously a nod at Two-Face. I thought originally that that's what they were doing, was that it was he'd get drunk and then he'd basically turn into this other persona.
I think that would have made for a more interesting Jack the Ripper. That Jack the Ripper is sort of the Mr. Hyde to his Dr. Jekyll. That as you said, that he's this Gotham solicitor by day, and then he goes home and he drinks, and while he's drinking, all of this emotion comes to like a fever pitch, and he puts on his hat and goes and murders a whore.
It's actually an interesting idea. Has anyone ever combined Jack the Ripper with Jekyll and Hyde in fiction?
I haven't the faintest clue. I'm sure.
A really good read.
It would be. I know there's a lot written about Jack the Ripper, so probably there's something out there. Just I'm not going to Google it right this second.
If it hasn't been written, somebody write that shit. That's gold.
But make it /fiction. And then email it to Alexis Hejna at Honeysuckle Rose Creations.
Okay.
See, Robert's not here to overreact to that. That's where that joke missed. So anyway, but okay, so let's fast forward here to Jim Gordon. I just didn't think they fleshed that out enough, and I think that's my overall criticism of Gotham by Gaslight, because I actually think they did a really good job of this. I kind of preferred the movie to the book in that I think it's much more lively, much more fleshed out. Problem is it's too short, and there's too much inference. I needed a little bit more with the kids. I needed a little bit more with Harvey Dent. I needed a little bit more with Jim Gordon. Because I think a lot of the reveals could have been stronger with a bit more introduction of things early on and paying off later. There seems to be a lot of jumping and too much inference to where I'm kind of dependent on having to either rewatch it or read about it to understand what I'm watching, and it's not that complicated of a tale. Which then leads me to Jim Gordon, because we went to he's fine, he's defending Batman, he's after Batman, he's Jack the Ripper. Kind of fast.
I have to admit, I don't think I have ever seen or read a Batman story where Gordon ended up being the bad guy. Mm-hmm. He has always been the stoic side to Batman, the other side of the coin flip. So that did really take me by surprise.
Yeah, I think the first time I watched it, and I didn't know, and again, going into this, I hadn't read anything about it. I really watched it cold, just try to have a good viewing experience the first time around. And I was like, oh, really, Gordon? Like, that's the best you got?
Side note, loved the little note that Batman gave the guard that had the dancing insignias on there. Brilliant little nod to Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. Good pickup there.
Well, he actually says, like something my old mentor said, once you eliminate, the impossible, I was there going, okay, so they're actually inferring that Bruce Wayne is trained under Sherlock Holmes.
Well, my problem with that is that's actually an old Vulcan proverb.
Wait, wouldn't Sherlock Holmes have come up with it first instead of...
No, it's originally from Vulcan.
Yes, but Roddenberry was born after Arthur Conan Doyle.
Damn it! Sorry, it's one of the funniest gags in Star Trek that these very common, very human historical phrases and whatnot are attributed to old Vulcan proverbs, like only Nixon can go to China. This is my personal favorite.
Sorry, Star Wars. I'm not a Trekkie.
Okay. So, what else can we talk about here? I did enjoy the very, very brief performance given to Barbara Gordon when it's revealed that she's off her nutter and half her face is burned, and she has a great line. She's like, "He burned the sin out of me." Like, okay.
I gotta say, am I the only one that keeps forgetting that Jim's wife is the same name as his daughter?
Maybe. She's such a non-character throughout Batman lore. I mean, she's kind of there to, if they ever need to steal one of Jim's children, she's there. But other than that, they don't really ever deal with her. So to me, she was kind of a non-entity, which is why I thought, like, giving her that line and that bit was so funny to me. He burns the shit out of us. Like, I've never seen them do anything with you before. That's fun.
I guess I just have problems whenever I hear Jim Gordon shouting, "Barbara!" All I can think is Jim Gordon being tied up by circus freaks and being subjected to pictures of his daughter being shot.
Yes, The Killing Joke. What a terrible movie that was. All right, what else we got here that we can...
I wasn't even talking about the movie. I was just talking about the book. You know I own it.
This is true. So, I'm going to toss it over to you. What other points about this movie did you want to talk about?
Again, I really like the little nod to Sherlock Holmes with talking about the quote and the little stick figure dance, which is alludes to one of the original short stories. I like the use of the World's Fair, combining it from the second Gotham by Gaslight story, which we didn't even really talk about in the source material review, which I think we all said we weren't really missing anything because the villain was just a non-entity.
Yes, correct. So I didn't even realize that was a thing. I just, the World's Fair was a big thing in New York. Gotham is kind of a parallel to New York, a avatar for New York. So I just assumed that's what, I assumed that's what they were going after.
It also kind of reminds me of Bruce Timm's previous work with the Mask of the Phantasm film, where we actually see Bruce get inspiration for the Batmobile at a World's Fair when he was younger.
So one of the elements of this movie thematically is that it's steampunk. Did you get much of that from this?
I hate to say it, I'm not a huge fan of the way the word steampunk gets thrown around. It's a very definitive style, so that anything that's taken from the Victorian era setting and given a slight futuristic touch all of a sudden becomes steampunk.
And the only thing that was even remotely futuristic was the motorcycle he rides at the end,
which, frankly, we don't really get a very good look at.
Right.
The only thing that I thought was really steampunk-ish, even in the slightest, was we see that his grappling hook is kind of spring-powered, which I thought was very creative and clever. Because I was actually watching going, so if they got the grappling hook, I don't know if they could invent the grappling hook. Oh, no, wait, there's the grappling hook.
Did they have Zeppelins during this time, by the way?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
I feel like
Zeppelins came and went so ridiculously quickly because everyone thought it did not take long for people to realize, oh wow, a giant balloon filled with flammable gas. This is safe.
Computer, when were Zeppelins invented?
Count Ferdinand von Zeppelin's serious interest in airship development began in 1874.
Okay. Computer, stop. 1874.
We just had Siri on as a guest speaker.
Yeah, I don't feel like Googling things. So I think the good points about this movie were it's a more fleshed out world. It was a good use of the characters. There's some really fun bits in this. Can you tame wild women? They burns the sin out of me.
How about that old woman who's looking at the Ferris wheel and they said it could go up to 15 miles an hour, and she goes, can the human body survive that?
Right. I like the cops not really being sure or if Jack the Ripper and Batman are the same guy. The stuff with the old woman, Marlene, I thought was fun. Like, pay me, you rich snob, or I'm going to tell people you murdered her. Like, it's good stuff.
This film also has some really good voice acting. Again, we got Tara Strong, we got Grey DeLisle, we got John DiMaggio. Interestingly, we got Bruce Greenwood, who returns again as Batman. He has been one of the de facto Batman voice actors for most of these animated films. And they bring in Jennifer Carpenter, who's been in a handful of things, but I mostly know her from Dexter. She played Deborah. And I don't think she's ever done voice acting before. If she has, I stand corrected. I'm just not familiar with what else she's done with, but she was good as Selena. I was impressed.
What I don't like about the movie is I feel like there was I don't know who this was for, because it's rated R technically. I wanted actually, my son's got this this budding interest in horror, and there are things that he excuse me. There are things that he's interested in that he says, like, oh, I want to watch that with you. I'm interested in that. So I said to him, before I realized it was rated R, I was like, hey, do you want, like, Batman versus Dracula? That was the big one that I'm talking about. Like, we were flipping through movies on DC Universe, and he saw that, and he was like, oh, my God, Dracula, horror monster, fantastic. Batman, who doesn't love Batman? So we watched that together, and he really enjoyed it. So I'm like, okay, do you want to watch Gotham by Gaslight with me? And he was like, you watch it first and tell me if it's scary, and then we'll make a decision. I'm like, all right. So and then I saw it was rated R. I'm like, oh, well, I can't show this to him. This might be too much for him. I didn't think there was anything in this movie that it needed to be made rated R.
It's bloody, but it's animation bloody. I have seen animes that get far worse than this.
Yeah, I didn't think this was particularly graphic. Like,
yeah. I don't think anyone drops any F-bombs, and there's no nudity, so...
There's no nudity. Everyone's, even in the carriage scene, everyone's sufficiently covered up. There's no cursing. The worst is, at one point, I think Ivy is called a whore, or a slut or something. Oh, they call Selena Kyle a slut at some point. I think Dent does, and maybe Gordon does, too. So, sort of liberal use of the words whore and slut. And then... when Ivy is killed, she's killed in the shadows. I don't even think... Oh, Marlene and Sister Leslie are both killed off camera.
Yeah, you do get the fake scare of thinking Barbara Gordon's being stabbed, and I think there's a little blood on that, but again, that turns out to be a dream sequence.
So, yeah, I'm not entirely certain here how this got an R rating as a cartoon. But beyond that...
well, the Killing Joke got a hard R rating, too, so...
Yeah, but at least in that one, Batwoman and Batgirl and Batman were, like, banging on a rooftop. And, then there's the implied sexual assault of Batgirl by Joker. Like, that one I'm okay with. Where I was going with this is... I feel like when I say, like, who is this meant for? Like, okay, so you've decided to go all out. This is obviously for adults. Well, adults can deal with a 2-hour time frame, so why is this only 78 minutes long? Why not use a whole 120 minutes and really give us, a good fleshing out of these characters? This is paced kind of rapidly. Like, I don't think it's paced badly. I just think, like, because I feel like they're trying to get this under 90 minutes, which, again, if you're making this for kids, that would be one thing. I get it then. Kids don't have much of an attention span. But if you're making this for an adult audience and you're shooting for an R rating, go the full 2 hours.
DC animated films rarely go that long.
Yeah, but then they're made for usually a mixed audience. There's no mixing of audiences with an R rating.
No, I think you are right. I think actually the worst we get is Ivy's dance scene at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And what does one of the spectators say? Drop the pedals or something?
Yes, drop the pedals. Listen, my son was running around the house naked dancing to Wu-Tang Clan. It's nothing he hasn't seen before.
Well, that's and officially this audio recording becomes blackmail material when he's in high school.
Yes. He asked me to try his Wu-Tang style. I said, for God's sake, put some pants on. I'll give you the last word here. Anything else?
I think we've covered everything. It really does a much better job fleshing out the world of Gotham than the graphic novel did. I also like that we get some better detail on the character of and with Batman's costume. I mentioned in the source material that I did like the heavy inking use. I felt that that style lent very well to the story. But I really liked how you could clearly see the design of Batman's costume and how they incorporated the 19th century style into it. That was really nice.
Yeah, it looked like he was wearing like an old Civil War uniform that he converted into his Bat costume, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm not sure what the high collar thing is, but it had a cool look to it.
But it did. No, this was a fairly good DC animated film. Probably not as high as some of my favorites, like Under the Red Hood, but I recommend it.
Yep. I think if I had any advice for the folks over at DC, don't be in such a rush to get these over with. Let's play with some time here. You're mostly reaching an adult audience, or at the very least an older teenage audience.
We get to review Superman Red Sun, right? Please.
Well, when they finally do the animated movie.
Well, it's coming out.
Let's see. What do we got cooking here? Yep. Wonder Woman, Bloodline, Superman Red Sun, Justice League Dark, Apocalypse War, and Superman Man of Tomorrow. Yes. We'll go ahead. We'll re-release Red Sun that week, and me and you will we can talk about the animated movie when it finally comes out.
Yay! Superman Red Sun's my favorite graphic novel.
Well, I hope they do a good job with it. Did you happen to watch Supergirl last season?
No, I am horribly behind on my DC CW verse, but I kind of want to sit in with you guys when we review Crisis on Infinite Earths, because I have read the book, and as weird as it sounds, I think that it would be good to have me, as someone who's not familiar with the CW verse but familiar with the storyline, to just sit in and go and take a look from a totally blank perspective on how they were approaching one of the most important storylines of all time in the DC universe.
Yeah, you know me. I always say yes, but you have to. I think I have you on for Batwoman when that ends next season. So.
But yes, yeah, you did ask me to review that. No, like I said, I am horribly behind on my CW verse. Everyone's like, did you watch the latest season of Arrow? Did you watch Flash? And I'm just throwing my arms out going, I'm still trying to catch up on everything else.
Make an effort to get through Supergirl just for their iteration of Red Daughter.
I am not going to be able to get anything done this winter. Between this and Disney Plus, I am going to fuse to my couch.
Look, I'm
going to have to train Eddie to bring me Coke Zero.
I will send you a list of what you should watch. Just listen to me.
Oh, you're so kind.
Can you tame wild women? All right. And on that note,
do you actually know any of the actual song or just the chorus?
I wasn't listening that closely. I heard her spin her what's that thing called? It's not an umbrella. Parasol. And going, can you tame wild women? And I'm just like, yes! It's a great song. All right. That brings us to the end of our Batman Gotham by Gaslight review. Tomorrow we've got Hell Yeah, Welcome Home. Thursday, BH 90210. And me and the boys. Oh, the boys. We're going to re-release the Killing Joke source material from way back when. And then next week we'll review Joker. We got a review of Joker by Brian Azzarello. Joker, the movie. We'll also do Steel Panther. Heavy Metal Rules. Plus, we'll also have Hell on the Cell from WWE. And myself and Jesse Starcher will review Pennyworth, which was an interesting show. Nothing Friday night, but Saturday on the 12th on DAZN, myself and Victor Kikado will be doing live commentary for Alexander Usyk versus the debuting heavyweight in the boxing scene, right from the world of kickboxing, right from the world of mixed martial arts and the World Series of Fighting, Tyrone Spong. So that'll be a fun one. And I believe that wraps you up for this month. Right? That's it? You're done?
Well, it's October 1st. I hope not.
I don't.
Well, you guys got me for the Joker, and did we agree we were reviewing Addams Family or not?
I'm not.
Oh, you don't want to review Addams Family?
No, I don't want to go see Addams Family.
You're no fun. I'll talk to Robert.
There you go. Good luck getting him to commit to that.
Well,
yeah.
Don't forget, we're looking at a couple of Patreon exclusive reviews for you and me to do over the month. So.
Yes, that's true. We're gonna on some of my days off, which I'll get you offline on. I can commit to doing one or two of those throughout the month of October.
I mean, if I really want to torture you, I actually found the link to the My Little Pony Newborn Cutie animated shorts.
It's just an hour worth of shorts. Random. Alexis, Hejna, and Mark review random shorts. Just shorts here, shorts there, Bermuda shorts, denim shorts, all kinds of shorts.
Can't be worse than when I forced you guys to watch the censored 11.
All right, so go ahead and plug Honeysuckle Rose Creations, and we'll get on out of y'all.
All right. Well, we are in the middle of our fall rush. Next time, first of all, we will be donating a couple of our horror-themed items to the Kansas City Zombie Walk for Hunger. This is a wonderful charity, and you know I'm going to be down there in zombie walking covered in fake blood. I actually need to go buy some more fake blood. Last time I got splattered, it dried wrong, and I didn't look like a zombie. I looked like I had spilled a vial of cherry Kool-Aid. So after that, we are going to be in Cape Girardeau for Cape Fear. This is a horror-themed convention. It's a first time going down there for that one, but this is the same crew that runs Cape Comic-Con in the spring. We are regulars there, have been for the last few years, so I'm excited to be returning. And then end of October, oh my God, the big one. We are going down to Atlanta for Anime Week in Atlanta. This is one of our favorite shows. And then, sweet Jesus, pour me some coffee. I am turning right around and going to Grand Rapids Comic-Con the weekend after that. This is a non-stop 2-week trip for me. You know, may God have mercy on my soul.
All right, Alexis.
Until then, you can always find us on Etsy, find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And as always, we have our stores on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Fantastic. If you want more of Alexis, as she said, she'll be on for the Joker review. And we'll try to do some extra shows over the month of October, random animated shorts and whatnot. But until then, in the meantime, in between time, be well, be safe, and behave.